In the past 6 years, in order to expand the North American market, China has strengthened its cooperation with Mexico, making it an important transit station for Chinese goods to be exported to North America. Many Chinese automakers choose to set up factories in Mexico to avoid high tariffs, so that new energy electric vehicles can enter the North American market at a lower cost. But now, after Trump was elected as the US president, a series of policies against China have also begun to surface. Prior to this, Trump had made it clear that his first presidential executive order after taking office would impose tariffs of up to 25% on all goods from Mexico, with the aim of restricting Chinese electric vehicles and other manufacturing products from entering the U.S. market through Mexico. This news quickly attracted widespread attention. To this end, the Mexican government has now also launched relevant measures, planning to promote local companies to gradually replace parts imported from China with parts produced in Mexico. Its core goal is to reduce dependence on imports from China, strive to achieve more local production, or tilt the supply chain towards North American companies. However, some industry insiders analyzed that Mexico's adjustment was not proactive, but was forced to cut off from China economically due to the tariff pressure imposed by the United States. So, why does the United States impose such high tariffs on Mexico? Will Mexico choose to completely decouple from China? If you like our video content, please click to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can receive all our latest video content. Now, let's get into today's topic. As early as 2018, the trade war between the United States and China entered a white-hot stage. At that time, the Trump administration launched a large-scale tariff sanctions on Chinese goods on the grounds of intellectual property infringement issues, including imposing tariffs on Chinese goods worth $50 billion and imposing strict restrictions on Chinese companies' investment in the United States. Subsequently, the U.S. Trade Representative formulated a list of additional tariffs involving about 1,300 tariff items, with a total value of $50 billion based on the results of the 301 investigation. In August 2018, the United States further imposed a 25% tariff on Chinese goods worth $16 billion, and China also responded tit for tat, imposing the same tariff on American goods of equal size and implementing it simultaneously. As a result, the trade relationship between the two countries entered a stage of continuous confrontation. From my survey data, it was found that China's total exports to the United States in 2018 were about $478 billion, accounting for 21.2% of China's total exports. In 2019, this figure dropped to $451 billion, and the proportion dropped to 16.8%. Although China-US trade rebounded in 2022 and 2023, with total exports reaching $566 billion and $500 billion, accounting for 16.6% and 14.8% respectively, the proportion has continued to decline. In the first half of 2024, China's total exports to the United States were only $236.6 billion, a year-on-year decrease of 11.6%, the largest drop since the establishment of diplomatic relations between China and the United States. As a result, China lost about 10% of the U.S. market share and lost its position as the largest source of imports for the United States. So, China is no longer the largest importer of the United States. Who replaced it? According to the U.S. Department of Commerce, Mexico's exports to the U.S. in 2023 will reach $475.6 billion, a year-on-year surge of nearly 20%. From January to August this year, the United States imported $378.8 billion from Mexico, while imports from China and Canada during the same period amounted to $322.1 billion and $309.3 billion, respectively. Obviously, Mexico has successfully replaced China as the largest source of imports for the United States. In fact, Mexico has not only become the United States' largest trading partner, but also the second largest source of trade deficit for the United States, second only to China. Although Mexico is only the 15th largest economy in the world, its exports in 2023 reached $593 billion, a year-on-year increase of 2.6%. This performance not only makes Mexico the world's 9th largest product exporter, but also surpasses Russia and Canada. More importantly, the U.S. market accounts for 80% of Mexico's total exports. In other words, the United States' dependence on imports from Mexico is increasing day by day. Against this background, the relationship between the United States and Mexico should have been closer. However, surprisingly, Trump now plans to impose a 25% tariff on all goods on Mexico. What exactly happened behind this? Over the years, Trump has always been strongly dissatisfied with China's investment in Mexico and has bluntly criticized Mexico for becoming a springboard for Chinese goods to enter the U.S. market through a backdoor. More threateningly, he even used the USMCA as a bargaining chip. If Mexico continues to maintain close economic and trade ties with China, the United States may consider expelling Mexico from the agreement. Regarding the USMCA, it was signed and came into effect by the Trump administration in 2020 to replace the earlier North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA. The agreement is valid for 16 years and will be reviewed every 6 years. Under this framework, the tariff on goods exported from Mexico to the United States is only 2.5%. But if the goods are assembled in Mexico using parts from non-North American sources, the tariff will be as high as 6%. This agreement is crucial to Mexico's economy because it guarantees a significant reduction in trade costs for Mexican exports to the United States while providing stability to the North American supply chain. However, as the agreement will be reviewed in 2026, Mexico is deeply concerned about the possibility of being kicked out of the agreement. In response, the Mexican government has taken action to encourage companies to gradually replace imported Chinese parts with locally produced parts. So why does Mexico want to clear out Chinese products? Since the Sino-US trade dispute in 2018, Mexico has gradually become an important destination for Chinese multinational companies to invest and build factories overseas, especially in the manufacturing sector. More than 30 Chinese companies, including electric vehicle companies, Huawei, and chip-related companies, have set up factories in Mexico. According to statistics, there are currently nearly 1,000 Chinese companies operating in Mexico. In the first half of 2024, Mexico attracted $31.1 billion in foreign direct investment, a phenomenon that has also attracted the attention of the United States. According to investigations, many goods exported from Mexico to the United States are actually Chinese products assembled in Mexico and then exported. This entrepot trade method allows Chinese goods to enter the U.S. market indirectly. Taking the automobile industry as an example, among Mexico's exports to the United States, the amount of automobiles and parts reached $196.33 billion, accounting for 41% of the total exports to the United States. A country that was once inconspicuous in the global automobile industry and had almost no independent brands has now become the world's 4th largest automobile exporter. In 2023, Mexico imported more than 400,000 vehicles from China. Through this layout, Mexico has become an important transit station for Chinese goods to export to North America. However, according to the U.S.-Mexico-Canada Agreement, cars exported from Mexico to the United States are only subject to a 2.5% tariff, while the tariff on assembled auto parts is 6%. In contrast, the United States imposes a tariff of up to 100% on new energy vehicles directly imported from China. Chinese automakers have circumvented high tariff barriers by setting up factories in Mexico, allowing new energy electric vehicles to enter the North American market at a lower cost. Many people may feel that Mexico has now replaced China as the largest trading partner of the United States. But in Trump's view, this is not a good thing for the United States. He believes that the rise of Mexico has severely impacted the manufacturing reshoring plan he has been promoting. Biden has chosen another path. He has implemented the nearshore manufacturing strategy and vigorously supported Mexico, with the goal of gradually replacing China, Vietnam, India, and other countries in the supply chain. In this way, the United States can continue to import a large number of cheap goods from overseas, while maintaining a certain degree of control over the global supply chain. Although this strategy has alleviated the pressure on the supply chain to a certain extent, the revival of the U.S. manufacturing industry is still lackluster, and the problem of hollowing out of local industries has not been fundamentally solved. On the surface, China has retreated to the third largest trading partner of the United States, but in fact, trade between China and the United States has not decreased, but has hidden behind the U.S.-Mexico trade. From the data point of view, China's exports to Mexico have grown significantly. From 2021 to 2023, China's exports to Mexico will have a net increase of $36.6 billion US dollars, which is a huge increase. Before this, except for the $8.1 billion US dollar increase during the trade war in 2018, the increase in other years was only about $3.5 billion US dollars at most. Today, Mexico has become China's 13th largest trading partner, 26th largest source of imports, and 9th largest export market. Data from January to October 2024 show that the total trade volume between China and Mexico reached $90.2 billion US dollars, a year-on-year increase of 11.7%. Among them, China imported $15.7 billion US dollars from Mexico, a year-on-year increase of 4.3%. Exports to Mexico reached $74.5 billion US dollars, a year-on-year increase of 13.4%. What is even more noteworthy is that from $55.2 billion US dollars in 2019 to 2020 to $70 billion US dollars in 2021 to $80 billion US dollars in 2022 and until $90 billion US dollars in 2023, China-Mexico trade has achieved a significant jump for 3 consecutive years. With the help of the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement and the advantages of Mexico's supply chain, China's exports to Mexico can be re-exported to North America through Mexico, which can save about 25% of the cost compared to exporting directly from China. However, the United States is now using the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement as a bargaining chip to exert greater pressure on Mexico, which makes Mexico's attitude toward Chinese companies somewhat ambiguous. The Mexican government has made it clear that these goods will either be produced by local companies or mainly by North American companies. Such a statement undoubtedly adds new challenges to Chinese companies. However, industry insiders also pointed out that although Mexico claims to reduce the participation of Chinese goods in the supply chain, there is no clear ban at present. This leaves a backdoor for Chinese companies. If they want to continue to enter the North American market through Mexico, the only option is to set up factories directly in North America. Although the United States plans to impose a 25% tariff on Mexican exports, it has increased the cost burden of companies. But compared with the previous high tariffs on Chinese goods, even considering Trump's recent threat to impose an additional 10% tariff on all Chinese goods, the cost of passing through Mexico is still low, which is a relatively more attractive option for companies. However, the situation is not entirely optimistic. China has imposed strict restrictions on the export of parts and components for certain key industries, which means that if companies want to continue to occupy the market, they must either set up factories in Mexico to complete processing and production or give up this market. Faced with such a situation, do you think China will compromise? Or will it choose to further adjust its strategy? To not miss out on our future projects and news updates, please make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. We will continue to provide you with more exciting and interesting content.